Hey, what's going on, guys? Been a long time, feels like, since I've done one of these, so it's almost like learning how to ride a bike again. Um, if you guys don't have something in front of you to drink, go ahead and stop this. Get yourself some go-go juice. It's a little bit early here in Oklahoma, so yeah, go ahead, pause this, get yourself something to drink, like I did. Um, what we're going to be doing over the next few weeks is addressing the whole armor of God with you guys. It's going to be an amazing series. Um, you're going to hear some pretty cool messages addressing each individual piece. So what we're going to do today is give a brief overview about why putting on the whole armor of God is essential. So we're going to go to Ephesians 6:10 through 20. Over the next few weeks, you may hear portions of this come back. But it's good to hear it all in context so that then we can discuss the why. So Ephesians 6:10 through 20. You guys can pause this and go back to it if you need to. Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand firm. Stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In all circumstances take up the shield of faith, which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying at all times in the Spirit, with all prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert with all perseverance, making supplication for all the saints, and also for me, that words may be given to me in opening my mouth, boldly to proclaim the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that I may declare it boldly as I ought to speak. That was a lot. So, what does it mean to put on the full armor of God? Simply put, to put on Christ. You see reference to this in Isaiah, where it talks to put on, it doesn't say the word Christ, but to put on Christ's nature, to be an image bearer. Every day, you and I are called to be that, to let our, you remember again the little kid song, to let our light shine. And the brighter that your light shines, the more people see Christ in you. The more you're going to be able to be a positive image bearer. And it doesn't mean to just walk around the world and be a good person. It literally means to acknowledge that how much you need Jesus. One thing that I think is very important that people can lose sight of is that this isn't, it's not an external thing that we're doing. We're not just putting on a physical set of armor to keep things away, to keep things out. Now, don't get me wrong, that is one purpose of putting on the nature of Christ. But I've made the quote before, John MacArthur said that, temptation and sin, we treat it as if it's, an outside enemy trying to get in, and that's just not true. It's more accurately painted as a robber that we left the door unlocked for. And the truth of the matter is that's where this spiritual armor, or the image of Christ, comes into play. That we don't give ourselves over to temptation. We every day stand firm, ready to battle against the temptations that this world brings, that the enemy can bring. There's the shield, and also in that being spiritual, we've got to fight with a spiritual weapon. You heard the sword, which is the word of God. That is a spiritual weapon. There's a lot of power in this book. There also is a lot of power in prayer. It said in all prayer and supplication. Don't lose sight of that when we go to a spiritual war, we have to fight with spiritual warfare. Do I know what that looks like 24/7? No. And the good news is, neither do you. What I do know is that means that you and I are going to have to spend more time kneeling and less time thinking that we know everything. One one of the most humbling things that I've had to realize in my life in the last 2 years is that, hey, I don't know as much as I thought I did at one point, and that's okay. Thank God God does, and that I need to spend more time confessing that and asking for wisdom, and thank goodness He's faithful and quite often gives me that and makes me just feel like, man, you're so cool. But guys, stop and think about that. How many times at work in the day, how many times, whether you're in college or even, your in-laws, which, sometimes I make the joke, whenever I've had problems in the past with my in-laws and call them my outlaws, how much time do you spend praying for them? How much time do you spend asking the Lord for, peace, patience, understanding, joy, all of these things? Or how quick do you just go to anger? You just go to, well, I don't want to be around these people. I don't want this. These are the most important parts where we have to put on Christ, where we have to look at things as Christ would tell us, I don't know. There's a lot of different sections I could go to with that. But for the purpose of saving time, I'm just going to say, put on Christ. If you're not sure what that looks like, talk to God. Read what He has to say about it. The one thing that I really wanted to take home with all of this is in there's the portion about submitting to God, resisting the devil, and he will flee from you. I believe that's in James. Remember that in order for you and I to ever have 1 minute of opposition to where we can even come close to resisting our enemy, is that you and I are first going to have to learn to submit to God. And that submission today starts with hearing this, walking away from this message, and all day long. Don't just hear this and leave. Again, in the book of James, don't just be hearers of the word, be doers of the word. And so what does that mean for this? It means today you go out and you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You give people mercy. You give people grace. You put on this full image of Christ as much as possible. I understand that you and I are not perfect, and that cannot be done 100% this side of the cross. But what we need to do in this world today is to strive to love others by any means necessary. I absolutely love the shirt that Cody put out. Love is a command, not an option. So today you go out and you love people. Love is a fluid word, and it looks very different. Love can be warfare, which if any of you guys are married, you know that means you need to put on a spiritual set of armor to love sometimes, because it's very hard. Guys, reach out, love your neighbor, love anyone around you that is willing to hear the good news of the gospel. Share it, share Jesus, put on Jesus. I love you guys. Have a good day.